friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys a story about how me and my boyfriend got stuck in Europe during COVID-19. And we landed and had to come right back home within about 24 hours. So if you guys are interested in hearing this wild ass story, just keep on watching. I'm gonna try to talk as fast as I can because it's pretty long. But grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's get into the story. Okay, so let me start out this story by telling you guys our original plan, and then I'll go into how none of that happened. So the original plan was that we were going to Europe to go to a drum and bass festival called Rampage, and it was being held in Antwerp, Belgium. And we bought our tickets back in October of 2019. We were so excited. We had never been to Europe before, and we were going to go to this huge festival. It was going to be great, right? So with our tickets to Rampage, there was a specific Rampage hotel that, like, it was a designated hotel that the guests of Rampage can stay at. So we bought that package deal for us to stay in the Rampage Hotel for the 2 nights of the festival, which were March 13th and March 14th. So Friday and Saturday. So originally we planned to leave on Wednesday from the United States. And since there was no direct flights from the United States to Antwerp, Belgium, we were like, all right, let's leave a day early. We're gonna go from Seattle to Amsterdam. And it's just a straight shot. We don't have to lay over anywhere, just 10 hours there. And we were going to the festival with my boyfriend's friend, Jay. And he comes into the story a little bit later. But originally, the plan was we were going to land in Amsterdam Thursday morning, stay in an Airbnb in Amsterdam Thursday night with Jay. We were going to meet him there, and he bought an Airbnb for all of us to stay in. We were all going to take the train Friday morning to Antwerp, Belgium, which was about like a 2-hour train ride from Amsterdam to Antwerp. And then we were going to check into our Rampage hotel, stay there Friday and Saturday night, check out Sunday morning, take the train back to Amsterdam, because that's the airport we wanted to fly out of, and stay in a little like shitty hotel near the airport Sunday night and fly out Monday morning. So that was the original plan, and none of that happened. So Wednesday, March 11th, the day we are leaving to go to Europe. So that morning, we wake up at 5 in the morning. We have to be at the airport by 6:30, and Rampage is canceled. They canceled it just 48 hours before it was supposed to happen. So we were like, well, shit, like, I already purchased my boyfriend's standby ticket, which I will go into a little bit more detail a little bit later into the story about my benefits as a flight attendant and why it was so difficult for us to get home. But just know for right now, I got to fly for free to go to Europe, and I had to pay for my boyfriend. It was like $150 for him to go to Europe. And then we had not bought return tickets yet. So Wednesday we wake up, Rampage is canceled. We call Jay, and Jay's already in Amsterdam. He left a day before us, and he was like, yeah, man, like, let's just still go to the hotel. Like, we're gonna have fun. Like, there's gonna be, you know, it's a 20,000 person festival. People are gonna be there. Like, we'll find a fucking party to go to, right? So we were like, all right. So we're like, let's just go. The festival's postponed, but we're still gonna go. And what a mistake that was. So we fly from Las Vegas to Seattle Wednesday morning, get to Seattle about 9:30 in the morning, and our flight to Amsterdam isn't until 2 p.m. So we're sitting there waiting. We go get some food. We're just walking around, hanging out. And everybody starts texting me. My dad, my mom, my sister, a couple of friends are like, hey, are you still going to Europe? And I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, we're just gonna hang out, just explore the city, have a great time. And my dad was like, I really don't think that you should go. And I was like, well, too bad. I'm already at the airport. And he's like, I really think you should turn around and go back. Like, something's going to happen this weekend with this COVID shit, and I don't want you out of the country. And I was like, whatever, Dad, you're not the boss of me. I'm going. So we went and we got on the plane and we flew on Delta, which, by the way, they were absolutely incredible. Highly recommend flying them internationally. So we had a great flight, and just about an hour before we landed, one of the flight attendants came over to me because like I brought them treats and stuff, and they were super sweet. And she comes over to me and she's like, hey, like, I just wanted to let you know, our pilots just told us that Trump has placed a ban on all European flights coming back to America as of tomorrow at midnight. And we were like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And they were just like, I don't know the full story. Like, we'll find out more when we land, but I just want to like give you guys a heads up. Some of the other people who are non-revving, which means like they're employees that are flying to Europe, they were like, they're just coming straight back. They're not even getting off the plane. They're going to come straight back to Seattle. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to land and figure this out because Jay, our friend, is still there, and he, you know, booked the Airbnb for us. So we were still planning on going. So we need to get in contact with him. So we land, and both of our phones are blowing up. Like, I swear to God, I've never gotten so many text messages in my life. And everyone's just like, you need to come the fuck home right now. Like, Trump put this ban on all like international flights from Europe, and because things were getting really bad in Italy, but like we haven't really heard of stuff getting too bad like where we were. So he puts the ban on it. We landed Thursday morning at 8 a.m. The ban was not going into effect until Friday at midnight. So we basically had like a full day to get back to America. And we called Jay when we land, and we're like, hey dude, like, are you still at the Airbnb? Because he flew in, you know, a day before us, and he was like, nah dude, like things are getting really bad. I'm at the airport right now. I'm going home. And we were like, what? Like, you're the one that told us to come literally 10 hours ago, and now you're already going back to the States? So we were kind of freaking out. We were like, okay, well, what are we going to do without him? Because we don't have a place to stay. Because we were going to all stay in the Airbnb on Thursday night. So he's like, hey, like, I'm at the Amsterdam airport. Come over to my gate. We'll talk about it. So we go meet him at his gate. At this point, haven't slept at all. It's been almost 24 hours at this point. I'm getting really tired. I'm getting really frustrated. And he's like, yeah, my mom like bought me a $3,000 ticket back home to Chicago. And so I was like, okay, well, let's see if we can get on this flight to Chicago as well. Now, I'll try to explain this in the easiest, fastest way that I can, but basically being a flight attendant, we fly on standby, so I only get on the plane if there is an open seat. But everybody and their mother was leaving Europe that day, so every single flight back to the States booked solid, like not a single seat open. So we're at the gate for Chicago. I go ask the gate agents if there's any seats. They're like, no, it's completely full. But they're like, you can try the DC flight next door. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Any flight that will get us back into America, I'll take it, right? But the problem is that we only brought $1,500 with us because all of our accommodations were paid for. We just brought $1,500 for food and merch and, you know, souvenirs, whatever we wanted, right? So we weren't planning on having to pay an arm and a leg to get back home. And a flight back to Seattle was going for $6,000 for a confirmed seat because everybody was trying to get out of Europe on this day, on Friday the 13th. So I'm freaking out because I can't look up on my like flight attendant website a flight and then book myself for it and hope I get a seat, because then I would lose money and I can't refund it right away. It takes like 5 to 10 days to refund. So I was going from gate to gate asking them if they had seats on their flight, and then I was going to book myself for it. But I went to Chicago, completely full. I went to DC, completely full. I went to Miami, completely full. And those were just the ones that were in that gate area at the time. So this is when I start freaking out. Like, when I tell you mental breakdown is boiling. It's coming to a head. It just hasn't happened yet. I'm like, okay, this is when we start. Like, I just looked at my boyfriend. I was like, babe, we are fucked. There's no flights that we can get on. So then we have to start getting a little creative. All right, so this is where things get a little crazy. So Jay gets on his flight. He's gone. We're stuck in the airport, and my boyfriend is trying to convince me that we shouldn't leave the airport until we have a plan. So we are looking at any possible flight to get home. But the one thing that was happening is that my flight attendant website wasn't working. Like, it just, I don't know if it was the Wi-Fi in the airport or what, but nothing was loading. And so I tried the best I could to Google flights to see if there was any flights back to America that day from Amsterdam. And I looked at probably about 20 flights before I had a mental breakdown, like full on breakdown. And I'm getting so tired. I'm so exhausted. I start crying and I'm like, what are we gonna do? And when I tell you, like, I looked at any possible way to get out of Europe, I'm talking, I looked at going to Mexico. I looked at going to Spain just to like get easy access out of the country, because my friend told me that her friend was stuck in Spain and she booked a flight to the Dominican Republic to get out. So I was like, okay, maybe that's an option. I looked at going anywhere in the Caribbean. I looked at Canada, every single possible major city that you can think of in America: Seattle, Detroit, New York, New Jersey, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, any sort of city. My dog is barking. Sorry. So like I said, yeah, we looked at about 20 flights before I started having a mental breakdown, and I was so tired. And I was like, okay, there's no possible way that I am getting on a flight today and flying 10 hours back home. Like, my brain literally can't handle it because I'm not going to be able to sleep and I'm so tired. So once we looked at all the possible flights out of Amsterdam, everyone was texting me and was just like, go to London because they're not a part of Europe. You can get out of London way easier. So we start looking at flights out of London, but then we were like, fuck, how are we going to get to London? Can we take a flight to London? No, we couldn't, because all of those flights were completely booked solid again. So we were like, okay, screw Amsterdam. We're not even going to look out of here anymore. We're going to look out of London, Heathrow. So we're looking, and I'm like, okay, things look a little bit better out of London, but how are we going to get to London? So we're like, all right, we were going to take a train from Amsterdam to Antwerp. Maybe there's a train that goes all the way to London. And we looked at them, and yeah, there was a train that cost about $350 a piece, and it was about a 6-hour train ride. So we were like, okay, there's absolutely no way that my ass is sitting on a train for 6 hours and then getting on a plane for 10 more hours. So I'm like bawling my eyes out. I'm just like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? And it wasn't even the fact that like I wasn't worried about not being able to get back into America without like being tested or whatever. It was just the fact of us getting a seat on the plane on standby because we don't have enough money to buy a confirmed ticket, which was upwards in the thousands of dollars. So I was like, we have to fly on standby because it would only be about $200 to $300 a piece to get back home, like rather than $6,000 for a confirmed seat. So I'm crying. I'm giving up at this point. I'm like, I just need to go to sleep. So I was like, maybe that shitty little airport hotel that we booked for Sunday night will let us stay there today. We'll get some sleep, wake up, look at more flights, and figure out what we're gonna do. So that's what we did. And I called the hotel by the airport, and I was like, hey, we were originally supposed to stay at your hotel on Sunday night, but things kind of got switched around, and we were just wondering if we could switch our reservation to today. And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So finally at about noon, we've been stuck in the airport for 4 hours trying to figure out a plan, and we finally decide we're just gonna go get some sleep and figure it out when we wake up. So that brings me to the next part of the story. All right, so we go to the hotel and we just plan on staying there for one night. So we go to sleep at 2 p.m. in Amsterdam, wake up at 9 p.m., so we get about 7 hours of sleep, and then it's back on the grind. I'm looking for a flight, and then I start looking at like even crazier flights out of London. I'm looking at like Argentina and Greenland and Iceland and any sort of way to get me out of Europe. And all of them looked pretty bad. And I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because if we're about to pay $650 for train tickets just to get to London, then we can't spend more than like $500 without running out of money, because, you know, we didn't have that much money. So I'm calling all my friends. I'm freaking out. My dad is like, hey, if you need any help with money, I got you. And I was like, it'd be really cool if you could pay for our train tickets, so that way like I can spend a little bit more money trying to get home. So he's like, yeah, no problem. So we buy the train tickets, and now I'm still trying to figure out how, like what flight we're gonna take back to the States. So I start looking at every single airport you can think of. Like, I start thinking about, well, maybe we can go through like Thailand or India, or go the opposite way around the world. Like, whatever it took, just get me the fuck out of Europe, right? And then I just start trying to look at like flights to Canada, and then Mexico again, and Argentina, and Brazil, and any direct flight that would get me out of Europe, and then I would land in that weird city and get back home some way or another. At least I wasn't in Europe, right? So finally, after 3 hours of looking at flights, it's midnight at this point, Thursday night, and I finally find the ticket that gets us home. And it was a Virgin Atlantic flight that left at 4 p.m. Friday. And it was really expensive. It was about $700 for me and my boyfriend. So like $350 a piece. So my dad helped us out with the train tickets that were $600. I spent $700 on plane tickets. And the first train ride that left Amsterdam to go to London was at 6 a.m. So it's midnight, and our train leaves in 6 hours. So being the smart people that we are, we decide to stay up, which was such a terrible idea. Like, oh my God, it was so bad. So we just got 7 hours of sleep, and we were like, all right, well, we're not going to go back to sleep. We found out a plan on how we're going to get home, booked all the tickets, everything's golden. So we were like, fuck it, let's just go explore Amsterdam for a couple hours. So we did that. It was a lot of fun. We got drunk and had a great time. So then we got back to our hotel room about 3 in the morning, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna go to sleep. Like, we have to leave to go to the train station in 2 hours. Like, I'd probably can't. I would probably be more tired if I went to sleep now. So we stayed up, and at about 5 o'clock, we went back to the airport, got on the train, and that began our journey home. And it was the longest day of my life, and I should have slept because I didn't sleep for the next like 17 hours. And that little 7-hour sleep that I got was nothing. Felt like shit. I was drunk. Shouldn't have done that. So at 5 in the morning, we head back to the airport and get on the train. Now, we have to go from Amsterdam to Brussels, Belgium. And that's about 2 hours. And then the train ride from Brussels to London was about 3 hours or so. We had to go somewhere. Oh, we went straight to London from Brussels, but then we had to take a subway from like downtown London to the London Heathrow Airport. So we did all that. I didn't sleep. It was a great time, but it was absolutely beautiful taking the train through the south of France and just like over to London. So that was probably the coolest part about the entire trip. Which brings me to the last and final point of this story. So, like I said, we leave Amsterdam at 5 in the morning. After like 6 hours, we finally get to London, take the subway to the London Heathrow Airport, and at this point, I'm exhausted. I'm so fucking tired. I can't even stand it, and I know that we're gonna have to sit on a plane for 10 more hours, and I was like, okay. So, get to London Heathrow Airport at noon. Our flight doesn't leave until 4 p.m. So I'm trying to like close my eyes for a minute, take a nap, whatever. We finally start boarding. I get on the plane. Everything's great. We fly for, what is it, like 10 hours and 45 minutes. Back home, straight to San Francisco. So that was nice that we didn't have to like go through Seattle. So we went straight to San Francisco, landed at like 9 p.m. America time, and we went straight through customs. Everything was fine. There was no like testing or anything going on yet. So that was great. And then we took a plane from San Francisco back to Las Vegas at 10:30 and didn't get home until midnight, which was when the travel ban started. Now, once we got home, obviously we were super depressed, and I slept for like fucking 14 hours. It was amazing, but I've never been more mentally and like physically exhausted just from staying awake. And it was our fault that we like didn't sleep after we figured out a plan. We definitely should have slept. My boyfriend can sleep on planes. I can't. I just can't. I don't know why. I just don't sleep standing up or sitting up. It just doesn't work for me. So we got home at midnight, and then the next day they started pulling every single person getting off of a European flight and testing them for COVID. And we didn't have to deal with that, which was awesome. Yeah, and I lost just over $1,200 on that entire trip. We didn't end up using the hotels, obviously, or the Airbnbs. And as far as the like hotel refund goes, since the festival's getting postponed, we can still go back and use the hotel for the postponed festival. So I didn't technically lose money on that part, but just everything was so stressful, and I never want to experience that again. Like, the amount of panic that ran through my head of not being able to get on a flight when I've sat here and looked at probably 70 different flights and all of them are booked solid, like, it was just a hopeless feeling. And Like, I cried and I cried and I cried, and it was awful, but we made it home just in time before shit got really crazy. So I'm so thankful that that happened, but my whole family was so worried about me. They were just like, oh my God, you're gonna get stuck there and have to be quarantined there for 2 weeks. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. That wraps up my story time video on how we got kind of stuck in Europe and just had to turn right back around and get home. And yeah, I have so many crazy stories, guys. If you guys want to hear more story times about shit that's happened to me, let me know and I will continue to do these more often. But this one was just so recent that I thought that I would share it, especially since we're still dealing with this COVID quarantine. And I know that it's been crazy for a lot of people. I can't even imagine how many people actually had to be stuck in Europe and be quarantined there because they couldn't get out. It's a terrible situation, and it was even more terrible just to be a flight attendant on that day and not be able to have the, what's the word I'm looking for? Just to like have confirmation that I was gonna get home. And I think that that was the biggest hurdle of everything, is just feeling completely hopeless and not knowing if you're gonna get on a flight. And like, it was rough. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I know that I said that I would be posting every Thursday, but I think I'm going to be posting twice a week if I can handle it. I'm just going to be throwing content out here as fast as I can. Whenever something comes to my mind, I want to get out content for you guys. So please make sure that you subscribe down below, hit the like button, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye.